I'm set.
And thank you again for joining me, Jeff Fuller, Jay Fuller Interviews. Jay Fuller Interviews on YouTube, the Facebook group, Instagram, and Twitter. And joining me now via the telephone is Hal Wissel. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing okay. Thanks again for making the time. So unfortunately, my microphone was not working, but thank you for doing this. When I read your Wikipedia page, your biography, everything that you've done, I just want to get started. When did you know that you wanted to become a basketball coach?
Probably when I was 10 years old.
What happened in your life that made you just love basketball and feel like you wanted to pay it forward?
When I was 10, and then even when I got to be 12, there was no Little League. So I formed my own baseball team at that time. And we played on a dirt field on the elementary school playground. And I used to shine shoes when I was 8 years old to make money so that I could buy a bat. And then the bat cost $1, and then I was able to buy a baseball that was 60 cents. So I had the ball, I had the bat, and I would form my own team. That's where I got to be into the coaching, because without, now I have Little League, and in fact, when I became 13, I had Little League, and they played on grass fields and uniforms and all of that. But before when I had to do it on my own, we had a dirt field, and I supplied the ball and the bat. So I took over, and I would schedule games with other elementary schools, and if we had a game at 9:00 and scheduled on a Saturday at 8:30, and we're missing some players, I ran over to the house, knocked on the door, and said, "Get out of bed, we've got a game." So that was the way it started for me.
So, Coach, with someone that had your experience, I won't say age, but with your experience, professional basketball did not look like what it does now. Did you ever have dreams of coaching in the NBA way back when you were in high school or even college?
Well, I went to New Rochelle High School in New York, and when I was in 10th grade, I got cut from the basketball team, and I thought I was better than the players they kept, but that was good for me because the JV team, the 10th grade team, they could only play 12 games. So I was on a team that played 50 games. That was a recreational team. The name of our team was the JPs, and we were good. And then I also played in the church league. It was like the CYO. We played on Saturday.
Yeah.
At the YMCA. And then I played intramurals. And when I was playing intramurals, we had a new coach. He was in his second year at New Rochelle High School. He was assistant football coach, and he was the JV basketball coach. And he saw me playing intramural, and he says, "Why aren't you out for basketball?" And I said, "I got cut." He says, "You want to play on the JV team?" Now, I was in the 11th grade now. Normally, you don't play on the JV team, but he wanted me to play on the JV team in basketball. I said, "Yeah, I want to play." And it's interesting because we would play games. We had a good team at that time, and the football coach would come into our basketball huddles and during a game, and he'd go, "So why aren't you out for football?" and he'd see me in the hallways at the school. He'd come up behind me and he'd feel my arm muscles and so forth, and my shoulders. You can't do that now, of course, but
Right.
at that time, that's what he would do. And he'd say, "Well, so why aren't you out for football?" So as a senior, I went out for football. And, I mean, we were the highest level of football for a high school. And I started on the football team. And then when I was a senior, I started on the basketball team. And then baseball was my sport. I was captain of the baseball team. And so I played all three sports, and it was great. And I think nowadays everybody picks one sport. I think they'd be better off if they played at least two sports. But I played three.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's certainly a benefit in Vermont, that if you are athletic, you have opportunity. Of course, with this COVID-19, you never know. Behind me, there's a picture of you coaching Pau Gasol, a young Pau, and he's wearing a Basketball World t-shirt. Can you just share, first of all, how tall are you, Coach?
I'm 6'3".
In what position did you like to play most when you were growing up?
As far as baseball?
Basketball.
Basketball? I was a small forward at the time.
And then for baseball, what position did you play?
Well, I started as a shortstop in the 10th grade. And then in the 11th grade, I was a third baseman. And then when I became a senior, my baseball coach started, he says to me, he says, "Your name is Hal." Nobody called me Hal. I was Harold, but they didn't call me Harold either. They called me Wiss, W-I-S, which is short for Whistle.
Sure.
And so he said, "Your name is Hal, and you're going to play first base." And he threw me a first baseman's glove. So then, you know, I was a good baseball player. So when it was in the spring there, my coach, his name was Paul Ryan. He was from Springfield College, and he was when I was a senior, he coached football and he coached basketball. And he said, "So, where are you going to college?" And I said, "I'm not going to college." I said, "I'm a good basketball player, but I wasn't good enough to get a scholarship." And I said, "You know, baseball is my best sport. I'm going to play minor league baseball." I had a job all set up. He said, "No, you're gonna go to college." We had a little grocery store on the corner that we leased from the butcher, and so we didn't have a lot of money. And I said, "Don't have money for college." He says, "Where there's a will, there's a way." Kept saying that. I kept saying, "I don't have money." He says, "Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way." So he then took me and the manager of the basketball team, who was also a distance runner in track, and he drove us up to Springfield College. And I was introduced to all the coaches. And at that time, Springfield was the #1 school for physical education and for developing coaches. We had a lot of great coaches that went on to be great coaches. We had, for example, Dick McPherson. He coached Syracuse University, then he coached the New England Patriots. And we had another coach who was the coach at Hamilton College and then became the athletic director as he was coaching. He did that for 30 years, and he had great success. And then he retired from Hamilton College, and one of his players, when he was coaching at Hamilton, became the coach at Northeastern. And the name of that coach was Tom Murphy, and he became an assistant coach at Northeastern. He's still coaching.
Yeah, now you're talking my language, because being up here in the Northeast, my friend went to Springfield College and a lot of these schools. It's just so much fun to watch, and they're categorized as mid-majors. And I just love watching or seeing your career, how you took every opportunity seriously instead of just eyeballing one main position. Could you just share the importance for younger people just to be content where they are and really to make the most of that situation instead of always seemingly having one foot out the door?
That's a tough question. I'm really trying to understand your question.
I feel too many young people, they're always looking at the next thing, but I look at your coaching career and you really put everything you had into every position, not just trying to use it as a stepping stone for something else, because those opportunities would come eventually.
Yeah, no, I always put everything I had into coaching. I loved it. Whatever team I was coaching, I really worked at it.
Now, Coach, I had the opportunity to interview Kenny Anderson, who played with the New Jersey Nets. You were an assistant with the New Jersey Nets. When you see a young talent that is a phenomenal athlete, but they don't have the career that some people think they should, as a coach, why do you think that is for certain players?
Well, when I was with the Nets, Willis Reed hired me to be the director of player personnel, and he said to me, "You're going to select your scouts, your scouting staff, and you're going to make the trades for the team, and you're going to get ready to make the draft pick that we have." And I'm saying to myself, what are you going to do? But I said it to myself. And then he said, you're going to do everything. He says, I'm going to take my bow and arrow and sit in a tree up in Canada for the whole month of November. That's what he did. But I loved Willis. He was great.
Did you enjoy the additional pressure of those situations, or do you kind of wish somebody else would have taken the lead in some of those situations?
No, I enjoyed everything, and I was going to do the best I could on everything. And I did. I remember we had 10 owners at the time of the New Jersey Nets. And we had a meeting, and I had made a trade I had it set up with the Orlando Magic. I had another one set up with the Toronto Raptors. And we had the vice president of basketball who came in after I was hired, and he said, "No, I think we should just stay the way we are." And I had worked on it. I made a 3-way trade so that we could get the players that I wanted. And actually it was the vice president with the Nets, and he wouldn't agree to the trade. And a week later, he said I should have done the trade you wanted to do. So but I stayed up almost all night just working out this trade, and it was a great trade.
Who are the players involved?
Well, at that time, we with Orlando, I was going to give up P.J. Brown, which I did, and I was going to get 3 players. And when I made the trade, when I eventually made that trade, that's a long story, but I'm trying to shorten it for you. I was sitting with that vice president and with Willis Reed in the stands at one of our home games, and we were winning the game, and the owner of the Philadelphia team came up to see us, and he said, our team's, we don't have a good team. He says, you can have anybody on our team. Right? He says, but you can't have and he had a guard that he didn't want us to have. And I'm trying to remember that guard's name. But anyway, I said to Willis and the vice president, I said, look, we offer him Kenny Anderson. Do you remember Kenny Anderson?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, but he won't take Kenny Anderson. But then we come back and we offer him we offer him Coleman. Right?
Yeah.
And Coleman played at Syracuse, and then he said he'll take Coleman, and we'll take his 7-footer, right?
Yeah.
For Coleman, and so I'm trying to remember the 7-footer's name, but anyway, we make that deal, and we get the 7-footer, and I knew that they wanted to trade Coleman because he didn't work hard.
Yeah.
He didn't do the things we wanted that would make us a winning team. And so we got the 7-footer, and I said, once we made that trade for the 7-footer, I'm sorry I don't remember these names right now. But anyway, after we make the trade, Don Nelson of the Mavericks offered us 8 players for that 7-footer.
Wow. So, Coach,
it changed our team completely around.
So, Coach, I just want to ask you a couple questions about working in the NBA. Were these players that you grew up admiring, like Willis Reed, that you are now working with, working for?
Well, I was at Fordham University as the head basketball coach, and Willis Reed was with the Knicks. Of course, he was the one that, when they won the championship, he was hurt, and he walked out through the tunnel, and everybody was, I didn't expect him to even be dressed. He walks out, and he played, and he made his first 2 shots, and then he didn't play anymore because he was hurt.
Right.
You might remember that. And so that's one of the great memories. And they wound up beating the Lakers and winning the NBA championship. That was in 1969. And that team also had Bill Bradley.
Yeah.
And they had Walt Frazier. Right. And so they had a terrific team. And their coach did a great job, with having them to be unselfish, move the ball, and also play defense.
Sure.
So anyway, 2 years later, they won the championship again. They had traded for Earl Monroe, and Earl Monroe was on the Baltimore Bullets, which is now the Washington Wizards. But he was on the, and he was scoring 40 points a game. And some people said, well, he won't fit in with the Knicks because they're playing team ball and moving the ball, you know. But Earl Monroe gave up all of the things that would allow him to score 40, 45 points a game. And I loved him as a player because he fit right in with the way the Knicks played.
Hey, Coach, you had opportunity to be a part of the Golden State Warriors. Can you just talk about that experience? How exciting were you to be on the West Coast, and then just to experience the formulation of success that Golden State's had?
Well, when I was only with the Warriors for 1 year. I was hired by Don Nelson, and he wanted me to develop players, but he also wanted me to do some scouting, scouting of NBA teams and also some college scouting. And when I went out there, it was far. So I only stayed 1 year. So when I was with UB Brown, great coach.
Yeah.
When I left Fordham, I went to the Atlanta Hawks. And it was the first year of the merger between ABA and NBA. And UB had coached the Kentucky Colonels, which I talked to him just a while back, about 3 weeks ago. And he said the Kentucky Colonels was the best team he ever coached.
Wow.
They had great players. They had Artis Gilmore.
Yeah.
And they had Dan Issel.
Yep.
If you remember those names, they had the guard, the 6-footer from Kentucky, who was a great shooter. But they had great players.
So, Coach.
Anyway, so with UB was just a great coach. He was a teacher and so forth. And he wanted me because he knew I could teach and make players better, particularly shooting.
What?
And later on, UB was with the Knicks, and his players were getting hurt, and so he wound up with minor league players. They didn't have the D League; they had the Eastern League.
Right.
So he had players from that league, and anyway.
Coach, so I have, a couple questions, and thanks again for making the time, and we'll get you out soon. But the first question is, what makes a good scout, or what does a good scout look for? Because I often look at straight athleticism and can somebody score or play defense, but I've proven to be, and this is just looking at high school kids, but a terrible talent evaluator. I just need to let coaches coach. But in your opinion, what makes a good scout, or what does a good scout look for?
Well, I was just on the phone 2 days ago with, I won't give you the scout's name, but he's a great scout. He was hired by Larry Bird to be a scout for the Indiana Pacers. By the way, I had Larry Bird hired me to come in and work with players to improve their shooting.
Wow.
I did that for 5 years with Larry. Larry was great to work for, and then he retired from being the president of basketball with the Pacers. And so when he retired, the one that they had replace him his agent wanted him to hire other players that the agent represented. So I was out, and Larry was upset about it, that they didn't keep me on. But when he was out, he stayed as a consultant, but he wasn't going to tell the new president of the Pacers, president of basketball operations. He wasn't going to tell him what to do.
Right.
So, but I know he was upset about it. And that got back to me early, right away.
Yeah.
So, but when I left the Golden State Warriors, I was a consultant for Mike D'Antoni with the Knicks.
Yeah.
And I did that for, for 3 years. And then I was with the Pacers with Larry Bird. That was 5 years. And then I get players like Pau Gasol, before I went with Memphis, and by the way, Jerry West hired Hubie Brown to be the coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. And I used to say to Hubie, he was the best analyst on TV, and the coaches love to listen to him because it's like a coaching clinic every time he's doing the game. But I used to say to Hubie, you're a great analyst, but you should be coaching. I did that for about 10 years. I would tell him, you should be coaching. And then, he didn't want to do it, so I stopped to tell him. And then I was out scouting for the Dallas Mavericks, and I was doing advanced, doing the games we were going to play. And I was in, the two teams. I did Toronto and I did Cleveland. And I was home, it was like noontime, and I'm writing up the reports. And we have a horse farm. That's my wife's dream. She was a nurse, she was great, but she always wanted to have her own horse farm. And which she's still doing. We have a big horse show Sunday.
Wow.
At our place. And anyway, so I'm sitting there writing up the reports, and when Hubie would call, he would always say, "Is this ranch barbecue?" And one of my sons would he says, "Let me hear the opening." He'd pick up another phone and want to listen. and we even have a photo of Hubie on our refrigerator saying, "Is this ranch barbecue?" Just a small photo on the fridge.
Well, Coach.
But Hubie, what's great is, so he's on the phone, and instead of saying, "Is this ranch barbecue?" he says, "Hal, I'm going to make this quick. I'm going to coach the Grizzlies."
Wow.
And I want you to be my top assistant, right?
Yeah.
And I almost fell off my chair. And he said, "Think about it." And I said, "I don't have to think about it." I said, "I'm on." Because I had a deal with, when I was scouting with Dallas, I could leave for, assistant coaching job.
Sure.
So I went with UB, and it was great. It was great. Jeez.
Wonderful. Well,
so I packed my stuff. I just threw stuff in a bag. I didn't even fold anything. I just threw it in a bag. And I get to the airport, and they say, we have your ticket, but we have to look at your bag. I says, "I'm going to miss the flight," because UB called me at noon, and the flight, he says, first, he's so organized. He says, there are no flights going from Hartford, we live right in Hartford, Connecticut.
Sure.
Bradley International. I said, he says, there's no flights going from Bradley to Memphis. I said, that's okay. I said, I know I can go to Cleveland to Memphis,
Right.
So I just threw stuff in. I get to the airport and they want to look through my bag. I said, I'll miss the flight. No, we'll hold the flight for you. So they look through the bag and then I'm off, and it's the farthest gate, of course.
Sure.
So I'm like running to the gate, and they're closing the door when I get to the gate. I said, hold it, right? So, and then they want to look through my bag, right? So I made the flight to Cleveland and then on to Memphis. And Huey had told me, he says, well, we'll have a limo waiting for you when you get there. And he said, just call Ann and tell her when you get there. Ann's one of the secretary. So, which I did, Now I get there, and we're having the press conference, right? For Huey being introduced and everything. And then I'm being introduced. And anyway, the first guy I see is Pau Gasol. Now, before Huey was hired, that summer before, the general manager, before they hired Jerry West as president, Dick Versace was his name. And he said to me, he says, I want you to go to Barcelona to work with Pau Gasol for 3 weeks and teach him a jump shot.
Wow.
I said, wait a minute, he was rookie of the year and you tell me he doesn't have a jump shot? Now, when I was scouting, I never went to scout Memphis because, first of all, they weren't very good.
Right.
And second, there was another scout that was scouting for Dallas that knew people in Memphis, and he always wanted to scout Memphis, where he could see other people he knew.
Right.
So,
well, Coach.
So I go to Barcelona, and I said I have to have a first class seat,
Right.
And Dick Versace says okay, but I turned that seat into 3 regular seats, and I took two of my sons with me. One son was a scout for 23 years in the NBA.
Wow.
And the other one scouted for 12 years, and he got into acting. So I took those 2 sons over with me, and they helped me with Pau, but basically they were there just to visit Barcelona.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I said to Pau, you think you're working hard? He says, oh, yeah, I'm working hard. I said, no, I'm going to teach you what hard work is.
Wow.
And I did. And not only did I teach him to be a better shooter, I taught him all his post-up moves that he used to become an all-star.
Yeah. Pretty phenomenal player. Coach, thank you so much for making the time. It's wonderful to talk to you, and hopefully we can get this. I can get my computer fixed so we can watch you on screen, but we just want to wish you all the best.
If you get it done, and I'll remember what the name of the player was, the 7-footer that we got, that Dallas, Don Nelson, that offered me 8 players for.
That sounds great. We'll talk.
And one of them was Sam Cassell, who I love.
Yeah, he could play, but Coach, we'll certainly talk some more. Thank you again for making the time, and we certainly wish you all the best. And I love the stories, and I just love hearing what you've been able to do and what other kids are aspiring to do. So, Coach, thanks again.
Yeah, by the way, you're in Vermont?
Yes, sir.
So you're a Red Sox fan?
I am a Red Sox fan. It's a tough year for us, but I do still say.
Well, I'm going to give you a quick story, but you have to read the book, Summer of '49.
Okay.
It's still you can still get that in the bookstores. And David Hammerstein was the one that wrote it. And he
yeah.
later wrote a book about the Portland Trailblazers the year after they won the NBA championship. Right?
Yes.
Back in 77, I think that was. But so I know you got to get going, but I got to tell you this. The first baseball game, my father was a Brooklyn Dodger fan because he was born in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And his side of the family, they used to say to me, why aren't you rooting for the Dodgers? You know, why are you rooting for the Yankees? I said, I'll give you 2 words, Joe DiMaggio. So I was 10 years old. My father takes me to a Yankee game, and DiMaggio was hurt the whole first half of the season. He had bone spurs in each heel. But when he comes back to play, he hits 4 home runs up over the screen, you know, in left field, over the monster now, but over the screen. 4 home runs in 3 games.
Wow. Yeah.
But anyway,
that'd do it.
He was great. And summer of '49, it tells about that season. And of course, Ted Williams was. I can give you all the Red Sox players. Ted Williams, of course, was you know how great he was.
Right.
And Lou Boudreau was the shortstop. The right fielder was Al Zarilla. The center fielder was Dom DiMaggio. Right?
Yeah.
The second baseman was Bobby Doerr. I could tell you all the Red Sox names.
Yeah, some great stories for sure. But
Get that book. In fact, get both of them.
All right, I will. I'll do so. Coach, thank you so much. Again, Coach Wissel, making some time. Basketball World, CoachWissel.com is where you can find more information. Jay Fuller interviews on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We thank you again for making the time and being a part. We'll talk to you all again soon.
Good for you, Jeff.